What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dead Dialect Podcast, the coolest podcast in Houston. Seriously, because you know what we did today, or what I did today, you didn't get a chance to go.
No.
I talked to Chris and Nikki from the Silversun Pickups.
Yeah, so
which
this
is obviously
episode is a good representative of how cool this podcast actually is.
Yeah, that's why I said that. I was like, this is how cool we are, because we got to talk to them. And what's wrong with your headphones?
Yeah, I don't know if I have it plugged in the shit right. No, I can hear it. It's fine.
Okay. Anyway, just to preface this, because, I didn't have headphones, which I talk about. And any time that we do a podcast where we are not in the studio, you know, when we're like at a venue,
yeah, we gotta
or
rush
have
out
to
there.
travel or something like that, it's always like a really different experience, right? Because you never know exactly what you're walking into. Because sometimes we've done these where and typically you're dealing with a tour manager or something like that, and or a lot of times you're dealing with the band directly. So you never really know what you're going to walk into. Sometimes we'll end up podcasting in a hallway, or you know, we'll end up in the green room, or you just never know. So it's one thing I love about going to these venues and meeting with these bands, and especially ones that I really admire, is seeing how their tour life is, right? Is kind of going behind the scenes. That's why I love going to the venues. We always offer the option like, hey, you guys can come here and talk to us, but I actually kind of prefer going there because you're around this environment that obviously we're obsessed with, right? We love music and we love tour life and everything like it's so cool. But another obvious thing is that we're not around.
Yeah.
But you get to see the distinctions in bands and how the things they do before a show or the things they don't do. Or it was just, I love that. I love nerding out over that kind of shit.
Right. Also, there's the added benefit of like not having them crowd into our little ratty kitchen, which I adore.
There's
but
that true. Yeah, there's that too, because that's totally true. As cool as it is to come to the studio, we are still a DIY show, and that means we are very limited in terms of studio space. So, like in our description, if bands are walking into our studio, they're walking into our house, and that's real.
Right.
And as much as I love having Silversun Pickups in my house, I'd much prefer to go to the venue and see how they tour and see how they do it. So, first of all, I just want to start with that because I think that was I don't know if many people know how we make this show. I don't know if they're and I think it's kind of a cool thing to know is that, you know, a lot of times we have to go and see these bands and these because soundcheck and stuff isn't something you're meant to see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's done before a show. And that's why the band gets there early. They get their fucking bearings. They go get something to eat. They go get a nap. I just love nerding out on that kind of shit. And I really did that today because I love this band. I fucking love this band. And at times it kind of got me because I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, you know, there's only been a couple times where we're talking to bands, or like Warpaint is really the one that's top of my head, obviously, where I just adore the music that these people make, and I love all the music of everyone we have on. But you know, these are like
there's
the
certain
greatest
ones. Yeah, these are that's for me. Yeah, Warpaint for me too. Is that because I remember that feeling of like being at the venue early, and then I know they're out there getting ready, and we just. Even imagining them on the other side of the wall, wherever we were, we're just like, fuck, they're right there.
And part of it has to do with you putting them, you know, naturally you tend to put these artists that you love on this kind of pedestal. So doing something like this and talking to them and obviously, you know, just listening to these conversations really helps you take them off of that pedestal because, you know, then halfway into the conversation, or not even halfway, and I'm usually about a minute in, everything that kind of starstruck front drops, and I'm never really starstruck. It's just more that it's hard for me to think because I there's so many things that I want to talk about, and a lot of times we're limited in terms of time. Or either way, this was kind of one of those for me where I'm like, fuck, I want to talk about so much. And at one point, you know, they wanted to talk about Star Wars. They were like, well, you got a Star Wars shirt on, you know, we can talk about Star Wars. I was like, dude, I could talk about Star Wars all fucking day. That's my shit. But I got a limited amount of time. I want to hear about this record, and I don't know. I had a great time. I'm still nerding. I'm still high from it. It was fantastic. They were nice enough to invite us to, you know, their little after party. They're going to have us over. Cool. You know, that's how you know a band is like hospitable as fuck. When they're like, yeah, I'll be on your show. Come hang out with us. Come get a drink. You know, and I just it makes me love them more. They're great people, and they are amazing musicians. I mean, I adore this band. I really do. I know you don't listen to them as much as I do.
This is your first time seeing them live, too,
This is my first time seeing them live. And And only every once in a fucking new moon, or whatever they say, do I see a band where I'm going to know every song, and this is one of those. And I told them, I was like, yo, I'm going to know every song tonight. I'm not trying to, like, fanboy out.
Right.
But this hasn't happened to me a lot. Mm-hmm. Even with bands that I like a lot, I might not know every song. Maybe towards the end of the record, you kind of veer off, or you start. I'm not like that with them, and I want everyone to understand that. Is that for me personally, this might have been a little difficult for me because I was kind of like, fuck, your music means a lot. I really want to make sure that I have a good conversation, and this is just me being candid. If this interview doesn't end up being what maybe some of our new listeners were expecting or wanting it to be, note that I'm a huge fan, and I'm sitting there in front of people that I like really fucking admire, and I'm trying to keep it as productive and as I possibly can, and try to get things that I think other people might want to know about. But meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, well, I want to know about Chris's drum sound.
Yeah.
I want to like ask a little bit more about like his setup or this and that. But you know what I'm saying? You know what happened? It just happens. And so
yeah, I'm pretty bummed that I couldn't sit in on that one.
Sorry.
But I am pretty excited for tonight's show because I'm not as big a fan as you are, admittedly. When I do the music that I do know from them,
and that's because I'm a huge fan.
Well, I have a natural inclination to follow that kind of music. I can follow what they're doing. The drums, they're intuitive for me to follow.
And not because it's like simple.
No, not at all. They're good. They are an amazing band.
So what do you mean you can follow them? What do you mean by that?
I mean it's not a band. Just because what I'm basically saying is just because I'm not a big fan it doesn't mean I don't recognize how great they are.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
That's basically what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And the way I listen, the way I hear their music, like I just know like live.
It's gonna be.
They sound really huge. Basically,
I heard the sound check, and it was. I mean, I'm like, fuck me, dude. This is yes. I was hoping to. So really, I've already seen them now. Right. I saw that, and it was great. They really just. I don't know. I love them. Their new record's great. It's gonna be a great show tonight. It's at Revention. This is definitely. I don't know if anybody's listening to this before the show. This is up before the show, but not long before the show.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our listeners listen after the fact. They don't. It's not like, oh shit, new episode out. I don't think they immediately put it on.
Right.
But either way, if you are one of those, go to the show, because I think this is one of those bands too that you kind of have to see live. They're one of those. You're gonna have to see them live. One thing I talked about that I brought up first actually is that for me they were a band. One of the ways that I got to like music before I really opened my mind to other kinds of music was just. Let me rephrase this. So I feel like there's a couple ways, and I explained this on the podcast, so this is already kind of being redundant, but there's a couple ways to get to like a band or get to know a band. Maybe you're piggybacking off of music that you already know, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so for instance, I was in the punk scene. So every band that I got to know or wanted to look into were bands that were punk or kind of stemmed off of that knowledge. Well, this is what I like, so I'm going to listen to this. Yeah. For me, they were never that. I never had anything that they came off of.
They opened up a brand new avenue.
They were a gateway band. Yeah. And that's what I said to them. I was like, you guys were kind of a gateway band for me, where you were the first of what came from y'all. And that's like really important to me because I never forget those bands.
Yeah.
Like I never forget those bands. And there may be a day where I don't listen to them as much or where they're not a band anymore, but I feel like they never really leave your heart because of that reason. And
the older you get, and the more your tastes become, I don't know how you would put it, complicated or complex. Yeah. Like those kind of bands become more and more special.
Right, they become more and more because then the foundation it has so much built up on it, and it just gets builds and builds and builds. And then you have 10 bands that maybe you listen to because they remind you of this, or not even necessarily remind you, but just your mind now is okay with hearing something like this because like I even told them I was into punk. This was not intuitive for me to go like...
At one point in time, there is no way you would have been into this band.
No fucking way. Yeah. But then it's one of those things you just can't deny. Like, oh, goddamn, this is great music. And then from there, you're like, oh, this is really good music. And now they're one of my favorite bands of all time. So I won't go on any longer. It was a lot of fucking fun. I had a great time with them. They're really sweet. And I try to squeeze as much information out of them as I possibly could within a 20-ish minutes span. So it's not the longest interview, but... It's not even really an interview. This is me just sitting down,
having a little chat.
So it was really cool, and thanks again to Chris and Nikki. You guys are amazing, and I'm sorry for emailing you so much. They were like, no, it's okay, and I'm like, no, I emailed you a lot. I know I did, but it worked. So Yeah, if you haven't got your tickets, get your tickets. If this is after the show, I'm sure it was amazing, and we'll talk about it in the next episode. Who I do not know will be the guest of. If that made any sense, I don't know.
We'll figure something out.
I think you knew.
We'll get a little review of the. Especially, I'll get my end in too because.
Yeah, you can talk about it. Yeah, because you didn't.
I'm fully prepared. It's not for me. Like seeing them tonight isn't like okay. Let me see if I like really like them. I know I'm gonna have a great time.
Right.
I know.
Yeah. You're just waiting to see what kind of experience you're gonna get. What's gonna happen. I can tell you it's gonna be loud. And I know it seems like go without saying, but their sound is very big. It's
I always imagine seeing them would be kind of like there's some. That would be overwhelming. Like they have like a way to just sound so huge.
It's
that
kind
I know
of
it
war
translated
painty
live.
in the sense that it's just 4 people, kind of obviously 3 pieces, about as small as you're going to get with a lot of bands, but it's still small to have 4 folks in a band.
But I like how they tend to have these long stretches in their songs where they're just jamming the fuck out and playing music, or at least in the songs that I've heard.
Yeah,
they just groove out.
They'll have these groups they stick to, and it's gonna be great. So anyway. Without further ado, here's my 20-ish minutes with Chris and Nikki from the Silversun Pickups. And as always, go to Dialect.com and subscribe on iTunes. Do all that good stuff. That helps us tremendously. Can't stress it enough. Go check out our new beautiful website. It's nice. We're still putting work in. We're adding some stuff. We're taking some stuff off. We're honing it. So give it some love because we definitely are. Anything else? I think that's it.
That's it.
Cool. We're not going to come back on. So as soon as this interview ends, that's going to be it. It's going to be the end. And of course, you can tell. You can have a little. You have a little countdown on your phone. So a lot of this information goes without saying, like who's on the episode, how long it is. You already know. It's right in front of you. We're going to shut the fuck up. Thanks again, and thanks to all the new listeners. And also sorry to the Redditors who are listening to this in advance because I did not ask any of your questions. Did not have time to pull up my phone and see. Hopefully, I still got some of the ideas touched on. So again, please don't hate me. I know they're going to listen to it and at the end be like, "You didn't answer any of my fucking questions, man."
Vote,
but so I'm just gonna. If you're here to hear your question, go ahead and turn it off now. But I'm pretty sure you're just here. You're just here to hear them. So that should be good enough. And if it's not, then you're a picky bitch, and I can't help you. All right, we love you, and we're out of here, guys. See you later. Bye. Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying I have no headphones, which I do have them, but I don't have a jack. So sound is going to be hopefully something I'll correct later.
Well, we don't have any either, so we should be just fine.
I think we're all good.
We're all headphones.
But this might actually work because normally headphones are going to put me into the conversation and kind of take some people a little further out because I'm hearing it. Not that you guys wouldn't be a part of this at all, but ultimately I think headphones do something where you know how it is to hear yourself talking through headphones. Yeah. It's a little weird, you know.
We usually don't like to, so this
right.
is perfect.
So this might even work out a little better. First of all, before we get into this, I want to thank you guys for agreeing to do this. This is big for me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm glad it worked out.
This is seriously an honor for me because I have what I like to call these bucket list podcasts, where these people when we started this, we started on a kind of a local level, wanting to talk to, highlight the people that live in our city that we loved, and a lot of them are our friends. But at a certain point, we wanted to reach higher, and we started talking to people like Warpaint is someone that I loved and ended up talking to, and they're amazing. And you guys were on that list of folks that I wanted to talk to, and I was like, well, one day, I'll be able to make this happen. So the fact that this is happening, first of all, is
Took
amazing.
A few emails. Sorry about that.
You started so early that it was too early for us.
I'm one to just be like, well, I have an opportunity, so shit. Let me just hop on it. But
also like on Instagram, when you got in contact with me on Instagram, I always forget that there's that direct.
It's a really weird way of contacting.
Thing. No, it's totally cool. I just forget that it actually exists.
Yeah, I do too.
And so
I don't actually know how to do it.
Literally one day, I just
shit, look at that.
What's this? And there's your message.
You guys, for me, are a band that, and I feel like there's a couple ways to get into bands, and one of them is kind of stemming off of things that you already liked. And for me, at the time when I got into you, I was a punk. I love punk rock. That's what I was into. I was going to punk shows every day, so it was. Everything that I was liking was piggybacking off of that. I like punk rock. Let me look at other punk bands. Let me go to punk shows. I like this band. They sound like everything I like. So when I first heard you guys, it was counterintuitive for me to like you guys. You guys were a gateway band for me. Then I found out about you, I was like, when I started listening, started getting really into these records, I realized like, well, holy shit, this is this is what I really like. Like I really love. I just feel you guys opened me up to not only liking maybe bands that are similar to you, but just liking other things other than what I was stuck into.
Cool. I like that idea that we were a gateway.
Yeah,
band.
gateway. I like
Yeah,
that.
and it's kind of like a term
cool.
I guess I just coined right now. But and once I got into you, I realized, man, what a unique. I mean, I could really tell that you guys were just playing. You weren't trying to adhere to any kind of genre or any box or what you thought you should sound like, and it was really refreshing to me. So before we really get into this, just personally, thank you. I mean, what an awesome revelation to have. And,
well, you're welcome.
And you guys were kind of that for me, yeah. But I want to
found out we like Star Wars. You like Star Wars.
Dude, yeah.
I love that shirt, by the way.
This is a safe thing to wear.
Wars.
Yeah. Did you guys like the new
Return
one?
of the Jedi.
The new
right?
one was
This is-
awesome. Yes.
Yeah. This is the battle between the final battle between Luke
final
and Vader.
battle,
Yeah, it's a little blurry
I
here.
like it. It's awesome.
So-
Yeah, we loved it.
Did you guys see it together as a?
We didn't.
I saw it with Bri.
I saw it with Brian too, but in a different.
Yeah,
occasion.
Brian's seen it like 10 times, but we saw it. I saw it in Canada with him when we were doing some
Okay,
promo.
I saw it 3 times in theaters, and I cried the first 2.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple.
5 times. I've
Yeah.
seen it
5 times.
I've seen
The
it.
the 5th one, I wasn't gonna watch it again, but then my friend was like, "We need to watch it in like XD, which is like the
Right,
5,
super
whatever.
HD. Yeah.
It's like the smells and the moving chair and
You keep
and
changing.
extra
Yeah.
lights and everything like that, and smoke and all that stuff. So I was like, I gotta watch it there.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It blew my mind. But fuck Star Wars. I want to talk about this record. I want to talk about you guys.
About
We wanna
Star
talk
Wars.
about
We can keep talking about Star
Game of
Wars.
Thrones.
Absolutely.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Didn't I haven't watched the last season, but I know some shit went down
okay.
last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
last night it went down. We won't
Everyone
discuss
died.
it.
that's kind of the reason I jumped off that show for a little bit, though, is because I felt like, man, I can't attach myself to any of these characters. Because,
After the wedding.
That was it. Red Wedding. I was like, all right, that's it. I can't handle this
Done.
anymore.
Yeah.
I want to get into this new record because it was the first album of y'all's that I was actually anticipating because I had got into you after the other 3. So this was the first thing when I was like, cool, they have a new album coming up. You know, great. Because I missed the boat on the other ones and then had to go back. So for me, this was a great experience watching you guys release music and tour everything. So for me, this is the most colorful and vibrant you guys have ever really been. I think all 4 of you are the most represented I've ever heard on an album so far. What did you guys do in the making of this record, or really try to do, to make that happen? If that was the goal, ultimately.
I think with making this album, I think we're all just in a really good place as a band.
Yeah.
And I mean, physically where we were, we
were
recorded at
physically
our
all there.
no. I mean, like, it was a beautiful place where we recorded, and it was up in Topanga Hills with Jackknife Lee, who we had recorded Neck of the Woods with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're all just in a good spot to experiment and try new things, and it just I think it kind of comes across in the album.
Yeah,
Right.
I think we were all present. I mean, literally there, but from like for the whole 8 weeks. Like a lot of the times in traditional recording,
You'll block it. And
you know, the drums will go first,
Right.
And then like once the drums are completed, then I don't really have.
Then
much
we don't
to
see
do.
Christopher.
Yeah, or like
See you later,
know,
Chris.
So exactly, and so this time around, because the way we recorded it, it was very, in a lot of ways, very improvisational what we were doing, and we just needed to be there all the time because we never knew who was gonna lay something down.
So was that maybe something that y'all had gotten away from as a band, or recording always kind of been where, maybe not separate, but how you were saying before? Like, was this a throwback maybe to earlier times, or?
No, well, I mean,
I think it's just inherently how Jackknife likes to record. Before we would do it more traditionally, but he's so spontaneous that you just never know what he is looking for.
Yeah.
But it's nice, we came in with the songs we wanted to record, and we had an idea of what we wanted to do, but the actual recording of it was very spontaneous. And
Right.
that's part of what his charm is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was just we would never know. Like I never knew I was gonna play bongos on the, you know, but then I ended up playing bongos a little bit.
What track was?
And
I didn't even.
Wild Kind. I think there's like
Okay.
a layer, a small.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
It's kind of like in the background, but or like Nikki playing vibraphones.
Okay.
The way that came about was Jackknife bought vibraphones off of Craigslist.
Really?
And it was arriving that day when we were there.
Yeah.
So when you say spontaneity, you really mean he's a spontaneous guy.
So, you know, it came and we were just fucking around with it. And then all of a sudden he was like, we need to put this on the record. And then Nikki started
I was like, I'll try.
So did you guys feel like maybe there was an opening up in a sense for this record? Because I mean, even for you know, there's a song that you arguably are now singing lead vocals in this song, and this is kind of maybe the first time that you've kind of taken over that. So was there maybe some of that element in opening up or being in that environment and opening up that played into that?
Yeah, I think he has a way of pushing us to try new things, to try things that, you know, he had me sing in ways that I had never sung before, and he pushed me to try to just do that because he could see that there was potential there where I may not have seen that. And you know, this song Circadian Rhythm that you're talking about,
which is my favorite song on the album, by the way. It really is, because I think maybe for that reason. But anyway, what were you saying?
I was going to say it's about a very close friend of ours who passed away, and I felt like I was also doing it for him as an homage to him, and it was it's actually one of my favorites that we've ever done. But yeah, so Jackknife sort of pushes us out of our comfort zone, or at least pushes us to try different things, because, you know, if you don't try them, then you will never see if it'll come to fruition.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make it on the record.
Yeah, there's lots of things that didn't make it on the record.
Just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Because I was going to ask, it's got to be kind of a weird, nerve-wracking thing to do, because it is a record. It is,
well,
you know,
for us as a band, we're so not like that.
I love planning.
We plan a lot. We're really kind of like specific on what we do.
I see.
And so so for us to kind of just go in the studio and just not know what's going to happen that day is like, it took a little bit of getting used to, but then once we did it, it was just kind of like there's a lot of trust involved with working with Jackknife. Like, just he has kind of that vision that you just kind of have to follow. And there's no point trying to argue with him.
Yeah, because he did throw my notes on the ground once when I still fought it and wanted notes.
Nikki's got these notes.
He had done that last
really
time.
Specific notes.
Like, nope, sorry, scrapped.
Yeah.
Literally on the cutting room floor.
He literally grabbed them from my hands and threw them
I have notes too. I made sure right away that he didn't see my notes, so he wouldn't do that to me.
Did you guys personally change up anything, maybe in your rig or how you're playing for this record?
Drum wise, I added some electronic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it was just I've kind of resisted as long as I could, and then eventually
we get set in our ways.
Yeah, and it was just
because there had already been like electronic drums before, right? But maybe you didn't have them where you were playing.
There was, but then I would always, for live shows, I would always try to
live,
like instead of using like an 808 snare,
right.
I would use a piccolo snare.
Try to maybe match it.
Yeah,
on an
I try
acoustic.
to match it
right.
on acoustic drums, and I kind of just I was kind of like you said, set in my ways and kind of old school in that respect, where it's just like, you know, I want it to be more organic, but then. Finally, I was just like,
fuck it.
Fuck it. I gotta do it. And I mean, it's not a lot, you know.
Right.
So
we both have drum.
We both
have drum machines now. Yeah.
Well, because of the vibraphone, we can't bring a vibraphone everywhere we go. So we just sampled it and put it on pads. And she plays
that
it.
works.
So it's cool.
And I feel like I asked this because for me, this record really felt like it felt like opening up. That's why I'm using that phrase, because, you know, with you maybe using the electronic drums or you singing a little more, I mean, it felt like, wow, they're pulling these things that they've done before and bringing new things in. And it was just, I was so happy to not be disappointed. You know, it's cool to find. It's so cool to find a band and then be like, oh, I got a new album coming out.
Yeah.
And it maybe doesn't. I feel like it's weird to say it doesn't live up. You know, but let's be honest. Sometimes bands they're not as happy. You know, when they make a record and the record kind of it kind of demonstrates that. With you guys, this totally demonstrated that was not the case. You guys were, if anything, happier you'd been. I watched the making of and saw that you were making in this smaller, this smaller room, like you were saying. Yeah. So, man, personally, just from a fan, I thought it was tremendous, and I thought everything you guys are talking about you can really hear it. You really can.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So Star Wars.
Yeah. No, hey,
we talked
One.
about
Rogue
the
One
album.
looks great, right?
Absolutely, man. There's a lot of things to be asked about that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm the first guy that will nerd out at a bar if anybody's mentioning Star Wars. I'm just like leaning over like, well, let me see what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
What's gonna piss me off?
The Llewyn Davis. That
Inside Llewyn, Oscar Isaac.
That guy is great.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic, and he's gonna play Apocalypse in the new X-Men movie.
Oh yeah,
which
right.
doesn't look anything like him. But I want to ask you guys about some. Moving on. Oscar Isaac's amazing, but I want to talk to you about some influences that maybe you guys have been pulling from. I know this is a question you might get all the time. So I'm sorry if it's redundant, but just I'm curious. I genuinely want to know where you guys have been pulling from, past or present.
Well, for Better Nature specifically, I think we're listening to a lot of like Ennio Morricone, like the spaghetti western stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And
definitely, I think soundtracks have always played an important part, especially also with Brian, our singer. It's like all he wants to listen to is soundtracks, and I think that
we grew up with a lot of listening to a lot of soundtracks and stuff like that, so that definitely comes in with like Neck of the Woods, for example. We kind of thought of it as like this is going to be like a horror film soundtrack.
Okay.
And then with this one, it was like, okay, we want to do like this spaghetti western thing, and it was all those soundtracks have a lot of guttural noises, like vocal noises that are like or like even the whistling, the famous whistling, that whistling, and so we wanted to incorporate that, and so
and things tie in from beginning to end too, which is also really important with
we
us.
wanted
making
to
an album,
like the songs, so you'll notice in Neck of the Wood, I mean, not Neck of the Wood, Better Nature, that there's like little interludes into other songs to tie it together.
Right.
So it's more of like one full piece instead of just like 11 songs.
It's
10
really
songs.
relieving to know that you guys are a band that's still making albums like that too, because I feel like a lot of bands maybe don't. They make it maybe song by song, but to take the whole thing into account is so important, and I don't know if it's lost, but I love to know that that's what you're doing. And it makes a lot of sense to hear that.
We're really album oriented.
That's how we've always.
Yeah, and even with like the order of the songs, we're really conscious of what's first,
how this
what's
is going
second,
to flow, right?
And we almost kind of record it that way.
Yeah,
until
in order, or
in order, until like after the 6th or 7th song, then we start realizing what we're missing. Okay, you know what? Now we got to do something more moodier, or now we need a mid-tempo thing or a faster tempo thing.
You find what doesn't work well together, and
but as you're going through it, recording it,
right.
And
so we're always aware.
Yeah.
What was the turnover like from you guys starting to write this album and to going to the studio, recording it, and getting it out? How long did that take?
Well, Brian and Joe did some demos, and that took like a few months. They were just kind of like going in and just kind of like pretty much getting a blueprint of a lot of the songs. And then when we came in with Jackknife, it helped a lot, because that way we just kind of like put it in the computer, and then it was like, okay, well here's the map of what we want to do.
Let's build
a certain amount of songs, and let's start building. And because it was such a improvisational type setting and situation, everything was always kind of set up. Like drums were always set up, guitars and amps were always ready, keyboards were always there, ready to go. And so then it would just be kind of, okay, play this, play that, do this, do that. And then 8 weeks later, we had a record.
The nice thing about this too, this time, I think it helped in that with our schedules, we could only record like 2 weeks at a time, and then we'd have a week or two off, and then do another. But it felt coherent, but at the same time, we had some time in between to really think about what we had recorded.
Because it kind of gave us breathing room.
Yeah.
It
was nice because it wasn't too much, but it was enough to think about what we had just done and see if there's anything we wanted to add or subtract or just change.
Yeah, because it's funny. You guys obviously had a way that you knew how to record an album, did some things to kind of deviate from it, but it's cool. I think you've done a fantastic job in picking, like you said, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Because, I mean, once again, I think the album's great. How's reception been? I mean, I don't know if you guys like read reviews or anything like that, but do you feel like the crowds are receptive or that the fans feel good about it as well? Other than me just nerding out for anything.
The crowds actually, you know what? This is the most singing along that we've had. That at least I've noticed, or clapping, or really,
there's like more room to be a little more anthemic with the crowds.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more interaction, and which is kind of, it's weird because like with record sales today, like just bands and artists just don't sell very much anymore. And so when the album first came out, for me, I was very like, not necessarily concerned, but I was just like, whoa, how, the record sales aren't that great, and like, are we gonna, do people care? And, and we go out there, and then it's like, oh my God.
Amazing,
like, here they are.
Yeah, here they are, and they're actually, they haven't gone away, and they're still there, and it's just, the record sales do not reflect what's going on out there.
Why is that?
So many people have Spotify and just different streaming things that are actually buying the album.
But you are
they're listening.
feeling that. I mean, you can actually like really feel that.
Oh, absolutely. Like there's a huge decline in record sales, and it's not just us; it's everyone.
Right. So does that mean tour more? Like, what are some things that you do?
Well, that's the thing. It's really difficult because of that, because of lower record sales. Artists and bands want to tour more to make more money,
right?
And because of that, there's more competition out there to tour and to book shows and like get people.
So it's harder to tour, right?
It's just so it's difficult, and like I was definitely concerned about that. I wasn't sure what the reception was going to be, because we hadn't done anything in like 2 or 3 years. So we knew like the landscape of the music industry had changed pretty drastically
within such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and so it's a relief that we can
I mean,
we're just and still, and
we're just grateful that we're able to still do this.
Yeah,
and that it's working for us right now.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, I again am a huge fan. I can honestly say you're one of the few bands that I can say I love every single song you've ever done. I can't say that with a lot of bands, because even with bands I love, towards the end of the album I might trail off and I turn it off just because my attention span is like, I have it's very short. With you, I just every album stays on, and I don't know. It's very hard for me to put it in any other words other than I love you guys. I think you guys are amazing. I love the music you make. Super excited to see you guys tonight as well, because I've never seen you before. This will be my first time.
Oh, cool.
So awesome. It's gonna be, and I think it's gonna be a lot of people's first time, because have you guys played?
He's gonna know we lying about everything.
He's like, shit. When that track skips,
no one sings along. No one cares.
Well, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Yeah,
it's
been an honor having us.
And
episode 8, that looks good too.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And hopefully when you guys come back into town, it'll be out and we can talk about it and catch up on that as well.
For sure.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.